walk down to the pond and pull out 5 brim for dinner. So, but there's something interesting coming down for a large portion of our country, and here in Columbia, South Carolina, we're in the bullseye. On the 21st, we got a solar eclipse coming. Now, and Wesley is...
I got my glasses yesterday.
Okay, good. Well, I'm asking here because that's a huge, unbelievable event for nature. What you preparing for? You gonna be fishing somewhere, thinking we're gonna pull a great white out of the lake, or what?
Well, I actually am headed to Michigan for another event after this one, and I'm stopping by my buddy's Shad Skank's house for we're gonna hang some deer stands and stuff like that. I like the deer hunting all season.
Where's my invite?
It was in the mail. You didn't get it. But no, we had planned on being at the house and watching it at the house because Spring City is actually in direct line. It's one of the best places that you'll be able to see the whole. I've done Googled the whole thing about how the sun it's a certain these light rays are going to go across the ground. It looks like worms.
Way above your education.
No, I've watched this. I studied this.
He saw a video.
I YouTube this, and they talk about these. It looks like snakes crawling across the ground at a certain point when the moon gets in front of the sun and all that. So you Google it. It's really fascinating.
I think you got a different internet than I do, brother. I haven't read about the snakes on the ground.
Well,
I tell you, it's full of it. There's no doubt.
I'm serious. It's snakes. No, the way the light comes around at a certain point when the moon blocks the sun.
City is snakes.
Yeah, they see.
Okay, I'm trying to educate you folks who are not listening. You just a bunch of dumb fishermen up here, ain't you? Just kidding.
See,
no, but anyway,
I didn't even know there was going to be an eclipse. I had no idea until I got here.
Are you serious?
You're kidding.
I don't pay attention.
You'll never see this again in your lifetime. You better be prepared for this. Jesus may pop out behind that thing. You need to be ready, son.
Is that what you want to be when Jesus comes back?
That's all you're going to be when Jesus... Yeah, I'm going to be right here in Lake Murray when Jesus comes back.
Hanging out with the fishermen. That's where I want to be.
That's
on the
what me
lake.
too.
There you go.
I want a 5-pounder on my line doing battle.
You know, it's funny about Lake Murray because we were talking about, in particular for this lake, for those of us who grew up near and around it, we've always heard these stories about these catfish at the bottom of the lake that the size are Volkswagens.
Yeah, well, we got those at the house, but they can't get the windows rolled down on the Volkswagen to get out.
So
They just roll the window up. You can't get them out of there.
and everybody in the world that's ever picked up a fishing rod has got a fishing story. You've heard too many of those.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when I was about 6, I caught an 8.5-pound bass. I hadn't come close since, not even close. So of all the fish you caught, what is the biggest weigh-in you guys ever brought in?
Bass or just
bass
fish?
or
Just a fish, period.
Oh, boy, I got plenty of
Man, I love to go deep sea fishing, saltwater. I've caught big sharks. As far as if you're gonna count a shark, yeah, I've caught like 10.
All right, let's stay
10
freshwater.
dirt
Let's stay
sharks.
freshwater.
Oh, crap.
Biggest would be either catfish or I've caught some 30-pound catfish, and then rockfish or the stripe, up to about 30 pounds. And I haven't caught them. I know Wesley and them probably caught a lot bigger rockfish than I have, and stripers. We catch them on the Coosa River. I've caught some 28 pounds. So that's the biggest freshwater fish. Bass I caught an 11.98. That's the biggest one of those I've caught, and that's the only one I ever caught that broke double digits.
And that's a big. Well, here's the deal. A lot of people have scales in their boat, and then they don't just. Man, that's a 10-pounder. That's a big thing. If you guys with Facebook and Instagram, it's
Sam actually just had one on there the other day.
I caught this 10-pounder. Their hand wraps around the whole tail, and their whole. When you catch a legitimate double-digit fish, it'll blow your mind. Literally, when their eyeballs are the size of ping pong balls and they're bulging out. That's a bass will scare you. They get that big. I was in the boat with a bass that was caught. I didn't catch it, but it was just over 13, and that's an enormous fish. My travel partner has like the 20th biggest fish ever caught in Texas. It's a 16.2. It's in the Budweiser Share-a-Lunker program in Texas. Jason Reyes fishes the tour. He caught it, and I wasn't with him, but it's an enormous fish.
Was he riding a Clydesdale when he caught it?
Pretty much, he was riding a unicorn. So, the thing about it is legitimately, I'm actually with Scott. I just caught one just over 11, and I live in Texas at Lake Fork, which is big bass capital of Texas. So it's nothing to catch. We catch a lot of 9-pounders there and just under double-digit fish, but everybody calls them double-digit.
It's not the
fish.
big bass capital of Texas.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
I've weighed in several 8s and 9s in tournament days, but only one fish ever in double digits, which was over 11, I mean, almost a 12-pounder. So he's exactly right. It takes a lot of bass to get in double digits.
It's a special fish. They don't get that big. They just don't grow that big. It's just not their genetics to get that big. So when you catch one, it's a unicorn. It really is. They're rare.
I actually weighed in a 10-3 3 years ago at Chickamauga.
Lead weight in it.
Yeah, and but that wasn't the biggest. My most, probably one of my most favorite memories that I have is fishing with my dad, and we were fishing this culvert. There was 2 guys on the other side of the culvert fishing, and the current was going through it, and we was on the side that the bay side. They were on the channel side, and it was just narrow enough for your boat to get through. And so I told Dad, so I'm gonna throw this DD22 up in there and just feed the line out. Let it. It's a big crankbait. I'm gonna let it just float back out where them guys are at, because you couldn't cast on there. So just barely enough room to get underneath it, so it was really hard to cast. So I threw the DD22 and I fed all the line off till it got all the way where those guys were at. When I cranked it back, I caught a 65-pound flathead catfish out of that culvert. And they never heard me fighting or whatever. And I yelled over and said, "Hey, you guys want a catfish?" And they're like, "Yeah, how big is that?" I said, "Well, you're gonna need more than that bucket." So I never will forget. I got it in the boat. I took it over. I gave it to them. They said like a little old Datsun pickup, one of those little old small pickup trucks. They got it, throwed it in the back of the truck, and then the very next week I saw it in the paper, them holding it up like they caught it. It was the funniest thing ever. So like, that fish looks really familiar.
Hey, we got a question off of Facebook Live. It's kind of a personal question, I think, but it says, all you guys seem to drive new boats every year. Do you pay for those?
I can answer this.
Yeah.
We get a little bit of a discount, but there is very few guys in the professional sports fishing industry that get a free boat every year.
I don't think anybody with us does. I mean, there's a few guys that have TV shows.
Basically, we at the end of the year we sell the boat for basically what we got in it, and but if we got 365 days from the day we pick it up to pay for it. So we're gonna debunk that myth right here.
Yeah. No free boats. Let's just clarify that with the words. We do not drive free boats. I get that same question a lot. Is
just free trucks.
Rob. Where's that deal at? Sign me up. I just bought one. It's got paper tags on it. It was not free. So long story short, you get that question a lot. Hey, you guys, can you sell that boat at a great discount? Like, you're making a lot of money on that boat. We don't. We get a discount on a boat, and then we have to sell it at the end of the year. So no, we sell them for what we have in them.
The biggest thing that we are able to do, and that we've all got it on our shirt, TH Marine. They've got Evinrude or Mercury. Everybody's got, and you get a discount on everything that you put on that boat, and that's why we're able to use it for 10 or 11 months. And our boats are, if you went, they're retailed at mid $75,000 to $80,000, and we sell them for high 50s, low 60s, and whatever we've got in them. We try to get rid of them, and it's 10 months old.
You can do the math. It's if we get 25% off of a product, and you take 20. Well, Wesley might get 10. If we get 20% off a product and you take 20% off of a $75,000 boat, that puts you right down there in that mid-high 50s or 60s. So that tells you we're selling the boat for what we've got in it, just black and white.
Brad has a question for us.
Hey guys, I'm not gonna use the microphone loud enough as it is.
What?
So without giving away too much information on Lake Murray, obviously if you guys have fished here before and came back this year, talking about fishing grass, there's a new grass in the lake. If you're mid-lake and down, like I said, without giving away too much information here, tell me what you guys think about this. I guess it's witches here.
It's a type of naiad. In my experiences, this grass starts growing right before your better grasses come, like hydrilla, milfoil. I've seen it happen at Watts Bar. The same grass came back on Watts Bar, and then the milfoil and the hydrilla started coming. Same thing with Chickamauga. Chickamauga, they killed all the grass off it, and there's a spiny naiad and there's another naiad, and I don't know the spiny naiad grows like a carpet, and it'll grow up about 6 or 7 feet deep. But this stuff is real like a stalk. It's a type of naiad. I can't remember the scientific name for it, but the fish will use it. I've seen them use it on Watts Bar, and it's really difficult. It grows so vast, like it's mind-boggling how quick it grew here, because I mean you go on that lower end and it's everywhere. But now you get on up the lake a little, about mid-lake, and it's gone. But then you get on up a little further and there might be a little hydrilla somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it's
somebody that unlocks how to catch fish out of that will do really good if they figure out how to catch them. It's really hard to fish because, like he was saying, it's real stringy, and you can't get a bait down in it without bringing a wad of it in. Just about, you can't crank it. I mean, you got to have something that fishes right over the outside, the top of it, or right on the outside edge, pretty much to be able to fish it. And I've tried 2 or 3 different things. I didn't have the key to unlock it, but somebody that does will do good, I'm sure, because that fish will live in it. I mean, it's vegetation.
I caught somebody out here in pre-practice, but I haven't caught any out of it since.
Hey, that's another question I just got off Facebook, and that is, you guys do official practice dates, but how far in advance do you come to the lake?
Well, for a cup event, I will go pre-practice sometimes, but that's the only time I'll ever do it. It's better to stay. We know we're going to be here in August, so we know it's going to be hot, and you want to get kind of see what's going on. You know what I mean? Because it's a herring lake too. Herring lakes are just a different type of lake in anywhere you go. They get so focused on those herring, and they so dependent on it, and they just roam around. So you try to find. You want to at least get there and see where maybe they might be schooling at, or where the fish might be relating to the herring, where they're crossing over points or cane piles or whatever it is. But this is the only event I'll come pre-fish for, because it's just it's a big event, and it's we already know at what time of year it's going to be. But like the other events, I never come pre-fishing, because a lot of times what you'll do is you'll get there and you'll pre-fish, and you're fishing off history instead of fishing off current situations. It's better to, in my experiences,
for sure.
the best tournament you can have is when you figure, like Scott said a minute ago, you figure it out on the water during the tournament.
That's for sure. You know, in FLW rules, they go off limits. We can't get any information or can't be in a boat with anybody for 30 days or something, but then they go completely off limits 2 weeks before the official practice. So, you know, I'll come over and pre-fish for the cup, and that's it. You know, here I came over for 2 days. I think I caught like 5 bass in 2 days, but I rode the whole lake. We've been here a few times, and I just wanted to familiarize myself with the lake itself. You know, I rode the whole lake. I've got 100 waypoints, what banks were shady at 10 o'clock, what banks were shady at 2 o'clock, and you know, because last time we were here, I was fishing a lot of shade, running shallow and fishing shade with that top water, but this week we have been in the shade since we started practice, so that's not going to be a player, it doesn't look like, but
sun rises in the east, sets in
it
the
doesn't
west.
matter. Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
For just like, for a guy like me, just so you know, I've never been here. I've never seen this lake.
Never pre-fished it?
You never have, huh?
Nope, I did. I drove here after the Potomac River.
When you're that good, you can do it.
No, I'm just.
Pretty much.
But what I'm getting back to is it sometimes. Sometimes the preconceived notion of pre-practice, when you get to a lake and you go and you practice it, you have a hard time of letting go of where you got bites before, or where the fish were at and what they were doing. So you tend to gravitate back toward where you had success in whether it be a previous tournament or pre-practice. Even on the schedule that we had this year on the tour, I hadn't been to, I think, 3 or 4 of the lakes out of 7. You know, and in the same thing, when a guy approaches at a tournament with an open mind, it allows him to fish the moment. What Wesley and Andrew and these guys keep talking about, and when you fish the moment, you fish the fish, and you're not tied up in last year or 2 years ago. And that's what really, I think you see guys that rise and fall in certain sports, whether it be football, baseball, fishing, they begin to get in a groove or a rut of doing the same thing over and over, and then sometimes the game changes a little bit and they don't tend to follow that. Fishing changes every minute. I mean, every minute of the day, when the wind changes, whether the clouds roll in, whether the water gets warmer, the shade moves, whatever the case may be, you have to be willing to yank that trolling motor up and go do something different. And whether that means sit down and retie everything in your boat if you're not happy with what's going on.
You see that a lot with like the guys, and I think that's one of the things that if you can approach it like a kid, That's the way I try to approach it like a kid and be excited every day about it and not get locked into the mindset of, no, I can't catch them like that. Because when you was a kid, like when you got to the lake, or when I was younger, I got to the lake, I was like, well, I'm gonna do this and catch them. And you just had all that belief and confidence in yourself you was gonna catch them the way you thought you was gonna catch them. And it worked out. But as we get older, we get in that mindset, like you're talking, you get in that mindset of, well, I'm gonna do this right here, and I'm not deviating. This is the plan right here. Well, that's the worst thing you can do. And another thing, the worst, I would rather fish a tournament anywhere in the country as to fish it on my home water. Ever.
Yeah. Some of the worst tournaments that I've had in FL, since I started fishing professionally, there was a couple events that I did go pre-fish for and really caught them, 3 weeks ahead of the tournament. And then when the official practice gets there, you don't want nobody to see you fishing that area, or you don't even want to be over there. And you sort of rely on that, like Jeff was saying, it's all changed. Fishing changes, it especially changes in 3 weeks. I mean, it never, in the summertime, sometimes it stays the same, but rarely does it ever stay the same for 3 weeks.
You guys are on a really tight schedule. We want to thank you so much for appearing here with us this morning. Final question, quick question for each of you. You do for a living what most of us do for fun. So what do you do for fun? We'll start with Scott.
I fish, for fun.
You fish for fun?
I fish all the time. When I'm at home, I fish.
You don't hunt?
I like to do things outdoors. I hunt some.
You don't play
I bow
volleyball?
hunt a lot. Do I?
You don't play volleyball?
No, I don't play volleyball. I play golf about 2 or 3 times a year, but
I
that's
played
about
with him.
it.
He's an exceptional golfer.
No, not really.
Jeff, what do you do when you're not fishing?
I fish. I fish for fun. I just continuously. I remember when I was, these guys' age, and it's the same now. You just keep it fun, keep going at it. I hunt just as much as I do as I fish in the off season. Wesley and I hunted together for a few years on a ranch in Texas, duck hunt and deer hunt. I bow hunt. So you check it out at Maloof Trophy Whitetails in Texas. We got some great whitetail hunts there if anybody's looking for a whitetail hunt.
I am.
Shameless plug.